Now that the Battlefield 6 beta has left us, and so has my happiness, I think it's time that I talk about it. I'm going to start by listing the things that I liked and then the things I didn't like. This was a beta, so it doesn't completely reflect what we'll get in October. Some of my criticisms are small nitpicks and others are a little bit more serious. I don't want to spend too long on each point as I want the video to actually end. I can always make separate videos on each topic if it's desired. Make sure to say something in the comments if anything comes to mind. I will spend more time on the negative things compared to the positive ones. Don't get the wrong idea. I did like the Battlefield 6 beta, and I wish I could play more of it. I'm extremely excited for Battlefield 6's release. I just feel like pointing out the negatives is a little bit more important than focusing on the positives. I'm a pessimist at heart, so I do this by default. Shortly, I want to mention that I've been a long-time fan of the Battlefield series, with my first game being Battlefield 3. Since then, I have logged thousands of hours across most of the Battlefield games. Collectively, not like thousands of hours on each game, with my favorite Battlefield being one of these three: Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4, or Battlefield 1. Let's start with the good. Personally, I really like how DICE has been responding to the community. They seem to be a little bit more open-minded with this game than the last couple of entries. Let's hope that they can keep that community-driven momentum. DICE has also seemed to realize the importance of the immersion of the setting. The game feels pretty grounded in its setting, which has been sorely missed in my opinion. I won't rant about this for too long because I'll be talking forever. I hope they can keep their word and exclude skins that break the game's immersion. I have mixed feelings on the maps, but I did like some of the CQB that they had to offer. The urban combat reminded me of Battlefield 3. Most of the maps offered plenty of destruction, which was another thing that the last few games were extremely lacking in. The modern combat theme is a nice change of pace for Battlefield, because previously we've gotten a futuristic game and historical games, which were good, but the modern combat was missed. Battlefield 2042 is almost there, but it's a little too futuristic for my taste. But that's a personal taste. The body dragging mechanic is a big one for me. I think body dragging is one of, if not the best mechanic ever added into a Battlefield game. It's extremely helpful. I can't tell you the amount of times where it came in handy. Regardless of whether I was the one dragging someone or the one getting dragged, it was used a lot during the beta. The animations were also very well done. I didn't see bodies glitch out too much during the animation. It also adds some pretty cool immersion to some seriously tense moments. The sound design, by the way, was fucking amazing. Seriously, whoever did the sound design needs a major raise. The guns sound super punchy, explosions are brain-shakingly loud, footsteps are very clear, the soundtrack is good that we have so far, and tanks sound like actual tanks. And the directional audio is clean and it works pretty well. Personally, one of my favorite sounds in the game is whenever you shoot a tank with a rocket. It sounds amazing. I could go on about this, but for your sake, I won't. You have been spared from my autism. The animations are really well done, and they feel like they have weight to them. A really good example of one of the animations is the M249. So if you shoot the gun for too long, after letting off the trigger, your soldier will take his left hand off the gun and shake it. That is insane attention to detail. If you shot 100 rounds from a machine gun like that, it would make your hand go kinda numb from all the vibrations. Sort of like that feeling you get in your hands if you've been weed eating for too long. Don't get me wrong, some animations did glitch out and some did look a little floaty, but I'm not an animation expert, so I'll keep my mouth shut. The weapons we got to play with were pretty fun to use. My favorite probably being the MP7 or the Galil. The balancing is most certainly going to need some work, but it's a beta for a reason. I didn't fly any helicopters or jets, but it's nice to see them. I did drive quite a few tanks, and I had a lot of fun using them. I might have a pretty biased opinion on this since I'm an engineer, but I didn't ever really feel like any of the vehicles were way too powerful. At first, I thought the helicopters were going to be broken, but to my surprise, they actually weren't all that bad. However, that should be taken with a grain of salt because there were tons of new players on the beta. Vehicles most certainly haven't seen their full potential yet, so the jury's still out on that one. I like what I've seen from the vehicle balancing though. The movement is another topic that you'll see later in the video, but I wanted to briefly mention that it felt okay. And it ended up being pretty useful in a lot of different situations. I didn't dolphin dive all that much, but I honestly forgot about dolphin diving until the end of the beta. The weapon customization is a nice change for Battlefield. It's more in depth than previous games, and I'd like to see them play around with it a little more. I was also happy to not see mortars return, but they'll probably be in the full release if I had to guess. I don't personally like mortars in Battlefield. They're annoying to die to. It's not a very skilled way to play the game, and it's extremely accessible. Anybody and everybody can do it if they want to. It's not like vehicles where they're limited. Unless they can find a way to not making a breeding ground for mortards, I would prefer them to exclude them, which might be a controversial take, but it's my opinion. Let's talk about the bad. These are going to be things that I didn't necessarily like, but they don't worry me that much. Like all the betas I've played, this one has had its fair share of glitches. Despite that, it was mostly fine. I didn't run into too many myself, but that doesn't mean they didn't exist. I've seen plenty of clips, and I've heard plenty from the community. I don't want to talk about it too much considering the fact that it's going to be something we have to see more of on release. But I do hope that they get some of those bugs patched because my god are some of them fucking annoying. Especially one where you like bounce off the ground when you drop off the surfaces and shit. That shit was so annoying. Now bringing the topic of movement back up, I prefer the more traditional movement, but I'm not entirely against the movement, if that makes any sense. I'm just more concerned about what the community will do with the movement and what direction it'll go in. The weapon balance felt pretty fine for the most part. I will bring up that shotgun definitely needs a fucking nerf. In regards to sniping, I do feel like the sniper glint could be toned down a little bit. But in return, I feel like the sweet spot mechanic should be removed. The Liberation Peak map was extremely annoying to play when there was plentiful amounts of snipers and it felt like there was nothing you could do unless you were in a tank or if you were a sniper yourself. I personally don't like that. I personally also don't like sweet spot mechanics with snipers. I feel like the only full health one shot should come from a headshot. I could elaborate more on this, but that would have to be another video, and I know I'm probably going to get some criticism for that, and I'm definitely willing to talk more about it, but I don't want to spend too much time on the lesser issues. We don't have a full idea of what all the maps will look like, but I do have some concerns with the maps. While I thought the maps were fairly decent, I would like to see some larger maps, like in Battlefield 4. I really hope that they aren't trying to mainly target the newly found COD audience, which is something I will bring up later. I'm also concerned for how the game will be played with all the new players. I don't want to throw shade at other game communities because all communities have bad actors. However, I hope the newfound popularity for Battlefield doesn't spread bad habits even more, like people not capturing flags. Don't get me wrong, Battlefield has always had people who don't play the fucking objective, but I hope it doesn't become a majority of players. I happen to really like the PTFO culture of Battlefield. Another nitpick is that I don't like the fact that both sides use the same vehicles. It just feels kinda lazy in my opinion. Unless this is further explored in the lore, it's going to bug me a little bit. I also prefer the more direct settings in Battlefield, like US versus Russia, as compared to NATO versus a PMC group. I didn't like the whole NOPAT thing 2042 is going for either. I'll wait before casting too much judgment on this because maybe the campaign will tie all of it together nicely. This is more of a personal gripe and not a major issue. The ugly. I will be spending more time on this segment than the rest of the video. I'm sure there will be more vehicles upon release, based on the trailers and whatnot, but the lack of transport choppers was disappointing. Transport choppers are hella convenient, but they're a lot more than that. Transport choppers offer more ways to play as a squad, and a good transport chopper can make a very big difference in a match. Or a good transport chopper squad, I should say. Now, this is a topic I know a lot of people are going to agree with me on. No server browser is just objectively bad. The community has been very clear that we want a server browser. I think they're ignoring it deliberately, which is extremely annoying. I believe EA doesn't like the idea of server browsers. I will spend a little bit more time on this because of how important it is. All of the most liked Battlefields have server browsers, and I know it's not a coincidence. Battlefield 3, 4, and 1 have aged well for so many reasons. I'd argue that server browsers play a major role in that. Server browsers allow you to consistently customize your experience. You can choose whatever maps you want, an actual map rotation, which is missing. You can opt into a full lobby nearly every time. Some custom rule sets, all at the press of a few buttons. This allows the community to build in a really healthy way. If you like a lobby, you can just stay in it instead of being forced to be pulled out of it. Anyone who doesn't like the lobby can just leave, like in previous Battlefields. This makes for an unsaid agreement that people are having fun with each other. Like in Battlefield 3, 4, and 1, you'll run into other people who actually keep coming back to that server. You can gain rivals, you can make friends. It just builds for a better experience in my opinion. It's a nice way to keep the community in touch with one another. You do not get this with the current system for matchmaking in Battlefield 6's beta, much like 2042's matchmaking system. And I will not shut up about this until they actually add a proper server browser. I don't care if they say they're going to do it, I want to see it. And I don't want to hear, that's what Portal will be for, because the server browsers are best when they are the main matchmaking system of the game and not shoved away in some secondary section of the game. I want server browsers to be the main focus for matching, along with rentable servers. Now, I believe EA is intentionally dodging the server browser issue. I think it's because EA doesn't want Battlefield 6 to live past their ideal expiration date like Battlefield 3, 4, and 1 have. Those previous games serve as a major hurdle for EA when it comes to making new games because people can confidently go back to those games if a new release sucks ass. They don't want people to be able to fall back to Battlefield 6 as easily as Battlefield 3, 4, and 1 if they botch a new release, because it would serve as a new major threat to their financial goals. Eventually, Battlefield 3, 4, and 1 will be shut down. This is inevitable, and they don't want any more future hurdles popping up to threaten future releases. EA has been notorious for killing games early so they can switch projects. Look at Titanfall. They intentionally gave Titanfall 2 a bad release in between Battlefield and COD with the intention to kill it. That way they could switch gears to make Apex Legends. Why else would they be so reluctant to add a server browser? In theory, if you were to disregard my argument, would it not be nothing but a net gain for the game? After all, the server browser plays a major role in the most liked Battlefield games of the series. I probably could have articulated that a little bit better, but that's gonna have to do. I'm sure most of you get the point, and I'm sure someone else could better explain what I'm trying to say. I don't want to spend too much time on one topic because I don't want this video to be too long. Another major concern is about the target audience. It seems like DICE and EA are trying to appeal to both Battlefield vets and new players, which is fine and it's understandable. However, I have a bias to admit. I would be lying if I didn't say I wish they would only target the Battlefield vets, which I know it's extremely selfish and unrealistic. I'm worried about things like open weapon versus closed weapon. Personally, I think the game should be only closed weapon. Battlefield was just better that way in my opinion. I don't think DICE or EA will be able to play both sides forever, and they'll just end up choosing one. Like how in the beta, closed weapon was there, but it didn't feel like the main focus, especially during the second weekend when they did not have a locked weapons conquest playlist. Only a locked weapons all-out warfare playlist. But open weapon had both. They had more options. The custom search that's in the game adds to the matchmaking time. That's something that'll only get worse as the game ages, because it's not like the server browser where you can just choose a full lobby to go right into, which is extremely concerning to me. DICE's last few Battlefields have failed because they prioritize other audiences over the core Battlefield community. I know that's a pretty selfish take, but I just want to be honest about how I feel. They should put closed weapons front and center always. The masses will pick open weapon because of convenience, since it's listed front and center. Look at Team Deathmatch and COD. It's, in my opinion, a shit game mode. I could further elaborate on that if needed, yet it's by far the most popular game mode because it's the first one. It's because of convenience. You'd be surprised by how simple-minded many people really are. Now, just because I think it's bad, that doesn't mean it's factually a bad game mode. However, there are plenty of people who will consume something because it's mainstream despite its quality. Look at Call of Duty Vanguard, one of the most trashed CODs, and it was still the best-selling game of its year. The same could happen to Battlefield's playlist, and it could permanently shape Battlefield into an entirely different game, which is kind of horrifying. Once again, I know it's selfish, but I'm willing to admit my biases. I also know that EA will choose that mass audience over the Battlefield vet community the moment it gets the chance to. Look at how loyal the COD fanbase is. COD sells ridiculously well despite how dog shit it is. For the record, my personal bias kind of muddies my arguments, but I'm not going to lie about my biases in an attempt to further validate my points. I'm worried that this could do irreparable damage to the franchise. I know I'm probably coming off as antagonistic and arrogant. I want to be clear that I don't look down on people for liking COD or for liking things that I don't. However, I don't want bad habits and ideas infecting the things that I like, which again is selfish, which is odd for me. I'm not a selfish person at heart. For some reason, this really bothers me though. I don't expect that statement to mean anything to you because, well, you guys, since most of y'all probably don't know me personally. Words can only convey so much and are actively worth even less without actions to back them up. To some of you, I'm probably just yapping nonsense. And maybe I am yapping nonsense, but I'll still yap regardless. It is a free country after all. People are free to think that I'm a moron, like I'm free to be able to believe in whatever I believe in. With all that being said, I did enjoy Battlefield 6's beta. I had tons of fun, and I'm really looking forward to playing more of it. This is the first time I've been excited for a new multiplayer shooter in a long time. I just hope DICE and EA can live up to the expectation. Let's talk about this. Comment down below and start a conversation. I'm eager to hear your guys' opinions, and whether you disagree or not, it doesn't matter, because this is how we grow as a community. I'm here to spark some discussions and hopefully change. That's all I got for you guys. I don't have much else to say. If I need to further explain myself, or if you guys are curious about anything in the future, I will make another video. I hope you guys enjoyed my fucking TED Talk, or whatever the hell you guys want to call this. I know I probably rubbed some people the wrong way, and that's okay. I'm willing to live with that. I'm not going to walk on eggshells and attempt not to offend some people, because in the end of the day, trying to appeal everybody, you're going to end up appealing to nobody. And I hope that some of you can come to terms with that, and we can always agree to disagree. It's a civil thing to do, and move forward. That's enough of my ranting. I'm sure you guys are probably tired of hearing me already. So take it easy, guys. And if you guys need or want anything else from me, make sure to let me know down below, and I'll do what I can.